Okay, so welcome to CNX-Insure. Today, as you probably don't know, because I only found out about this myself very recently, today is actually Tell the Truth Day. So I've got Andy with me. Hi there, Andy.
Hi, Simon.
I feel like I've put you on the spot here. But so National Tell the Truth Day, as we record this. And I thought I would use this as a kind of an excuse, really. I wanted to quiz you a little bit about our health insurance forms and about how honest to be there. But before we start, I'm just going to hit the intro. Okay, so so I wanted to ask you. So I feel like when we are trying to get a job, we have to complete our CV, and we probably always give that CV a little bit of a polish to try and represent ourselves in the best light possible, so that we have got the best chance to meet our objective, which is to try and get the job, right? So when we're completing a medical form, I feel like our objective at that time is, well, we want to be covered for as many things as possible. So, I mean, the very worst sort of solution or situation would be where we paying a lot of money for our insurance because it's a significant investment, but a situation does happen in the future where we are not covered, and we want to give ourselves the best opportunity to have as much cover as possible. So, how truthful do we need to be, or should we be with that form?
Sure. I would always recommend people to be as honest as possible. Whenever I sit down with anyone, the advice I give is be as honest as you can, and then that way you're not going to get any surprises down the line. Nothing's going to come back and bite you. And it depends really on the medical conditions. If it's something small, like you might have broken a finger a few years ago, well, you don't need to put that down.
Okay. So where is the kind of threshold in terms of, like you said, the example, breaking a finger isn't relevant. Presumably having a heart attack last week is relevant, and somewhere in between is the dividing line. Where is that sort of dividing line?
Sure. I mean, actually, what a lot of insurers will say is, has it happened in the last 10 years? Now, if you've had a back strain or something like that, that's quite common. If that's happened within the last 10 years, then you do need to put that down. But then if that's maybe 15 or 20 years ago, I would suggest there's no need to put that down. You're obviously well clear of that and over it. However, if it's something to do with the heart or cancer or maybe diabetes, then it doesn't matter how long ago that happened. If you've had a heart attack 30 years ago, you still need to put that down. That's something that the insurers are looking out for.
Sure. And you use the example of the back strain. And does it have to be a condition that warranted a hospital visit? Or, I'm sure a lot of people, including myself, have had back strains at times, but, it was just, bit of pain for a couple of days. You didn't do anything about it, then perhaps you should have done, and you've forgotten about it since.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I use the back because it's a very good example. It's something as well that insurers are looking out for, because on the higher end of the scale, if it's like a degenerative disorder that's not going to get any better, they want to know about that. And that again is something really that's going to be ongoing. It's only going to get worse, so they need to know about that. If perhaps maybe you're at the gym and you strained your back and you might have needed a night in hospital perhaps, or could have been out of action for a few days. If that's more than 10 years ago, I'd say there's good reason, that you don't need to put that down on the form. But if that's happened a few weeks ago or a few months ago, then you're gonna need to put that down.
Okay, so for myself, I mean, I had asthma as a kid, but my asthma's been very, very light for a long, long time now. I perhaps wouldn't need to put that down on the form. I guess what I wanted to go to is, let's say I didn't mention something about history of asthma, whether big or insignificant that was, and then another condition happened to me in the future, nothing to do with asthma. Could they say, well, because you didn't declare this, we're not going to cover you for, because you didn't declare X, I'm not going to cover you for Y? Is that possible?
No, I can certainly appreciate that. A lot of people might be concerned that if you've omitted something from the form, which, let's say, for example, like, your issue with asthma, if that was say 20, 30 years ago, and you'd had nothing, hadn't need to have a puff on the inhaler or anything like that.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened in the last 20, 30 years. I think you're pretty well clear of that. And my recommendation would be there's no need to put that down.
Okay. And if it had been something that's a bit more recent, let's use the back strain, for example. Let's assume I had a back strain problem. I don't put that down on the form. And then in a month's time, I have another condition, nothing to do with the back strain. Could they say, well, hey, you didn't declare X, therefore we consider you a fraudulent data entry or something like that. Therefore, you're not covered actually for anything. Is that?
I've certainly
possible?
never seen that. I can understand why people might be concerned about that, but if it was something that happened a long time ago, and it was minor, and it was 20 years ago, you might not remember it. So it's just a human error. You might genuinely have not remembered to put that down. So in that case, what they'll tend to do is, if they found that out, it won't invalidate your policy. It will just mean they'll then perhaps add an exclusion into the policy relating to that condition that you didn't put down.
Sure. So that is the outcome, right? So if, let's assume someone does have a condition, they declare that, the likelihood, if it's reasonably significant, the insurance company is unlikely to say, okay, well, we're not going to touch you. They're more likely to say, well, we'll cover you, but we'll add an exclusion policy. So anything within this area won't be covered, but otherwise you'll have the normal medical cover.
Yeah, exactly. Certainly in my experience, from what I've seen, that's been the case. It may be different in somewhere like the US, where there's a lot more legal things involved. Sure. And I'm sure a lot of Americans would agree. They'd be very nervous about missing something off of the form. Right. But not from not over the last 15 years of what I've seen anyway.
Okay, cool. All right, and I also wanted to go on to, now, not every health insurance provider will ask you these questions up front. I know many will, but perhaps not all. And sometimes you even see sort of advertisements and things saying, hey, no medical history forms required or something like that. Yeah. So, if someone's perhaps nervous, is that something they should be looking towards? Is that a beneficial thing to get?
Yeah, so for me, I always steer clear of that. There's one or two insurers out there, and what they have is, as part of the application, they have what they call medical history disregarded. So it means that they don't ask you any medical questions at all. All you do is you fill in your name and your contact details and give them a copy of your passport, and that's it, and you get covered. Now, for me, having a lot of experience in this industry, I think that's something to seriously avoid, because I think what's going to happen is they're going to assess your medical history when you're on the operating table. It doesn't mean to say they have no interest in your medical history at all. They're just disregarding it at the application process. Right. If you're someone that's got a few ailments like diabetes, maybe slightly overweight, blood pressure, cholesterol, you're not going to get away with it. It's actually going to be, when you're on the operating table, they're going to look at that. And if you've had a heart attack, you're not going to get covered for it.
So really, the reality is that medical history isn't disregarded. It's just not, details are just not requested at the time of the application for some insurance companies.
Exactly.
And so I guess from the customer, it can be tempting, right? Because, okay, I haven't got those annoying questions to answer now. And it might be a perception of, well, okay, if they don't ask me, then there's not going to be any problems later on. But the reality is, which makes sense, because insurance don't make money if they pay out a lot of money, so they have to query conditions, right? Yeah. If you end up in hospital for a serious thing, that's when they're going to start asking all the horrible questions. Probably at a time when you least want them, I imagine.
Exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, you're much better off filling in the medical questionnaire. And like I say, you're going to know everything right from the moment you've taken the policy, what's covered, what's not covered. If you go for that medical history disregarded, the last thing you want is for the insurer to be looking at your medical history when you've just had a heart attack or a stroke or something serious there. I've met a few, let's be honest. I mean, not everyone likes filling in, or hardly anyone's going to like filling in a health insurance application. So when you're given the option of just being able to, give a couple of details and you can get it done within 5 minutes.
Yeah,
It's very
it feels
very
tempting. Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
the allure, and I can also see why it's appealing to people. So it's nice to hear the sort of truth behind that, and actually it's a little bit sort of darker than perhaps we might realize.
Sure.
Okay, well, look, thank you. I think we'll sort of wrap it up there. And so enjoy Tell the Truth Day to see how far I can get
Oh,
through
well,
about
yeah,
20 white
me
lies
too.
today. And we'll speak to you guys soon.
Sounds good. Take care. Bye-bye.